small short story on how I decided to be an architect. I was studying engineering at a community college, and that college didn't offer architecture. I was taking life as it came. I didn't necessarily care what I was doing. And I had this friend, he's from Cameroon, very motivational, very, what's the word? He was quite, he had a vision, let me put it that way. He had a vision, he knew what he wanted in life. And he was very good at math. He knew all the schools he wanted to transfer to. He was applying to MIT, Harvard University, and I was just, living life. So one day he asked me to come with him to Catholic University, where he had applied to transfer to. And I said, fine, let's go. So he went in, turned in his application material, and he asked me to just check out the architecture department with him. I did that, and the minute I walked in, I saw a model like this, something like this, just sitting in front. And I asked him, what is that? He was like, oh, one of the students made that. And from that moment, I knew that I needed to come to the school, and we went around, they gave us a tour, and before we left the school that day, I spoke to one of the deans on how I could get there. And he gave me a book and told me that I need to read this book first before I decided to be an architect. I was like, fine. So I read the book, and the book only made my decision stronger. It gave me kind of a backdrop of what it takes to be an architect. I went back to him and told him I had read the book and I'm more sure. So I want to mention a leader has a vision. When the path appears, a leader recognizes it and embarks on it. And for me, that was my moment. That was when I embarked on my journey to be an architect. I'm going to go back on the slide yesterday to speak on these two buildings. And these two buildings were also an integral part of why I decided to be an architect. As I was studying engineering at the community college, I was studying a minor in arts. So we would visit different museums. This is one of them, the National Gallery of Art, the East Wing, designed by IMK, who also was the commissioned architect to redesign the Louvre. So if you notice the glass pyramids, is one of the signature design aspects, which is one of the major things in the Louvre today. And then the Hirshhorn Museum, designed by Gordon Bunshaft. Now, I went to these museums for the art, but the buildings, intrigued me. So those were signs of, my interest in architecture. So I'm going to share a few projects that we are working on right now. So I would say it takes about 9 people to come up with something like this, to design a concept like this, right? And at this stage, it's just a concept. And for this site, we had almost 5 to 6 different designs, but we managed to put our heads together and decide on this one. And the site was quite challenging because, it was on a rock, and we basically had to break the rock to find a way to put a building on it. And it was quite impactful for our team because it was very difficult. We worked on the design for about 3 years before we broke ground. And lo and behold, we started working, we broke ground, we had a structure up, and before you know it, the site is taking shape. And hopefully this year, we would be closing in on this design and handing the keys to the client. And then this image here is a proposed mining port in Burutu, Delta State, Nigeria, which is one of the other major projects we're working on. And looking back, if you told me 17 years ago that I would be working on a project of this magnitude, I'd be scared. I'd be very scared. It would be unbelievable to me, you know. But today, here we are, and we're trying to gain investors, trying to propose it everywhere we go, you know. And the best thing about this project is the financial aspect. I don't want to go into too much technicalities, but it allows one to travel, you know. Travel for investors, or to meet investors, or to do more investors. You know, it's quite the big project. You know, and I wanted to just share a few of our designs with you guys, you know. So yeah, being an architect allows you to be very creative. You know, you have to kind of have knowledge on every aspect of your design. You know, be it the structural, the interior design, furniture, art production that goes on the wall, your accent pieces, the landscape outside, everything. So architects, to me, are leaders already, because you have to be an all-rounder. You have to be an all-rounder. And these outlets, you know, you can decide to focus on one thing, not just the designing of the building. You can, you know, hone into the facade design. You can decide to design furniture and say, you know, you're a furniture maker and still be an architect, you know? So, speaking on that, some of the things I focused on were art, because if I told you before, from before I've been interested in art, I studied, you know, as a minor. I studied it as a minor, you know, and 3D printing, you know, where we would kind of build information models to give more information on our designs. You know, you're looking at a physical model of it instead of sitting down and like painstakingly creating the model like we do in school. The 3D printer allows you to just throw your model in, your computer model into the printer, and it comes out as a physical model. Now, some of the teams that I've worked with, you know, didn't just sit down and say, oh, we're going to do buildings. One of our partners decided to go into the social implementation of 3D printing. We would print prosthetics for kids that didn't have hands. You know, you go into rural areas, find kids, do research on what is wrong with their arms, and actually print arms for them and hands. And you know, these printable parts actually work. You know, you can, you know, move the hand, they can hold things, and you know, these are things that change lives. Like Ahmad was saying, you know, you would turn on lights for people and they would start crying. Same way, you know, you give a kid or someone, a man that has lived his whole life without an arm, and all of a sudden he has something to carry something with. You know, so that's quite impactful. And 3D printing also is going into the medical field, you know, to print out organs, you know, like lungs or like kidney or liver. You know, it's still in research phases, but these are things that are actually happening. So with the companies and the different partnerships, we're actually doing research on how to make these things possible. But the main idea for us actually is 3D printing in construction, because I don't want to go off script. I want to still remain in my industry and be impactful as an architect. And 3D printing is becoming so real that, you know, people are using it in construction. They're building houses. They're creating, basically, it's a crane that you attach the printer to, and using raw materials, husks, you know, like the red sand we use for mud huts, or the thatch roofs, the thatch and the sand put together. You know, we glue each other, and these are things we feed into the printer, and it actually gives us very traditional molds. But obviously, with new designs, you know, you can create so much more. So it doesn't just stop at the technology. It can actually impact not just city life, but rural life in Nigeria. So these are the things we're looking at as a unit and as a team. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight some of those things. And in conclusion, an architect is a leader. Whether he likes it or not, he has to be able to relate to everyone that he's working with. He has to be able to see things through others' eyes and actually use it in his own design and everyday life. So leaders just go for it. No two snowflakes are alike, because your uniqueness is what makes you who you are. It's what makes you a leader, you know. And write your own script, believe in your vision, and just go for it. So yeah, thank you.